Welcome back everyone to AREI, the Arctic Research and Entertainment Institute. It is my new series here, a very short series focusing on building a polar research station and using all the new Arctic pack pieces to provide hopefully a good little series that shows off the pieces, how they can be used, and also how the game evolves and develops with this pack. I have to say that I'm super happy with today's episode because it is the main station, the main research station that I'm building over here, and honestly I didn't think that it turns out that nice looking. I basically also wanted to go for a very modern approach here and mix this up with some older builds around the station. So the idea is kind of that this is like a location in the Arctic that has been grown over the time by various institutes, and they got more money and they have been successful in researching and also maybe in creating welfare for the environment they're in, and working together with other institutions and other organizations to just improve everything. And the idea is to make this a very modern kind of polar research station that eventually even would open up for some tourists. So to get in with the idea of the zoo, it's not really a zoo in that kind of sense, but it could be like a whole research area where tourists could go. So I'm also thinking of making some kind of guest hoods or whatever, where there is a little almost like a little hotel being placed here as well, where the people live and stuff. The only thing that we have right now is only the working station over here, but if people spend a longer time, they need to live somewhere as well, and I haven't been tackling the homes yet. So this is what I believe could also be a cool thing for the Arctic wolf, which I haven't tackled yet, but I definitely want to. So there are a few things that I have still in mind, and you can see that I am in this episode today in particular, I'm looking a lot at the station, the main station. This is also the focus point of this whole complex here, I have to say. It will be the polar bear habitat entrance. So this is where the polar bear will be sitting in terms of where it is kind of located, but obviously it's going to roam around. And my idea, as I explained in yesterday's episode, no, actually it was 2 years ago already, the idea was to build a certain habitat that hugs this entire area. So the idea is that the polar bear will be roaming around this whole area. So I will try to come up with a solution using mostly natural borders, so it almost looks like the bear could even go into the middle of this whole area. I was even considering to leave it as open, to just say, if the guests want to just kind of run away, they just should, because the staff doesn't do, and I still want this to be like a research station. And so I had like in mind to maybe open this up for the bear in general and just make the whole map like one invisible habitat, and then just go with the flow and say like, hey, it's just living here. That's how it is. We are researching it, and that's fine. I kind of like that idea for a long time, but then again, it kind of brings in so many difficulties to build that. So for once, it's not even that easy, because I wanted to make the access point for the staff members within the habitat then, and the main issue is how the game treats habitats. It drives me a little bit nuts sometimes, because it forces you to go with a layout that potentially would not work this way if you consider to make this like a real habitat. Because the thing is, the staff members always have to get into the habitat from the outside to basically check what is going on inside the habitat. So it's potentially impossible that a staff member would be the whole time in the habitat. So it has to go through the door to fulfill the task of checking what is going on and delivering what they just noted down. So for example, to make it very obvious now, if there is a staff member like a keeper going into a habitat, it kind of recognizes, okay, the animal, in the best case though, the animals need food, so they leave the habitat again and they go and search for the nearby keeper hut to make some food. Now, this is the reason why you need to make sure that there is one nearby, else they're going to look for the actually closest one. So then they go in, prepare the food, come back to the habitat, enter the door, and in this moment, the kind of task is being fulfilled. So the moment they put in the food and get back to the door and leave the habitat, this one action is done, and so it is open for a new task. If you consider that they are inside the habitat at all times, they basically cannot follow this rule, and so the game doesn't really recognize them doing the tasks they are meant to be doing. So it leads into a severe issue of not having the potential to make them work, actually. So they will be idling around the whole time because they basically cannot do the job. What you would need to do then, you would need to make them go outside of the habitat. And here's me telling you that this is the real struggle, because you need them to put the door to the habitat to the outside, like very much to the outsides of this whole area, which then leads again into some other issues, because it just doesn't look right. It just doesn't look complete. It just doesn't look fine the way it is, because it is totally strange why they would then go, just imagine there is like a food trough in the center of this research station, and still the keepers would go to the very outside of the station to exit the door and enter the door again to, or basically another fake door, so to say, that is leading towards the keeper hut, and then go back to the outside again and come back again. You know, it kind of drives me nuts to even explain that. So it's a bit tricky, and so I came up with another design idea how to do the habitat. And yeah, I feel like it's a good solution what I'm going for, and I really hope that it does work out. And yeah, in general, I'm just very happy how the entire station looks, and how this idea turns out to be potentially a good idea, being a good idea, because I felt, in all honesty, there is no way of me integrating the Arctic animals for once, but also the overall idea of the Arctic pack into my Yosemite Valley, for example. It's just not working. You have seen yesterday that I prepared for the polar bear in my Russo, but that's another story, because franchise demands on using the animals in a different way, so I cannot really look into too much of a creative approach to it, but I can here, so that's why. And I just didn't feel comfortable putting a polar bear or a reindeer or whatever in Yosemite Valley quite yet. Maybe in the future we do it. Maybe in the future, if we have an idea how this could turn out to be a great idea, then we will use it. But in particular at the moment, I don't really see it. I don't really feel it. And I want to step away from it as much as I can. Now, talking about Yosemite, I'm not really sure if there will be an episode tomorrow. I am working on it. You potentially have seen that on Wednesday, preparing for the big cats. But I don't want to rush things. And maybe the polar episode will be earlier. I have no idea, to be honest. I don't have that much time. Preparation for Christmas is going on, and the 2 days I actually planned to do some recordings basically didn't work out as planned, because there was so much unintended stuff happening, nothing bad, nothing, just the normal life happening, and then all of a sudden it leads to being in a position where all the plans you had are just gone. And so maybe you won't see too much stuff here, maybe you will. It depends on how much energy I have in the nights, because at the moment I am recording. I was planning to play some more after the recording, but I will maybe just go to bed now to get some rest and just do some stuff tomorrow then, once we're finished with our daily stuff. So yeah, as you can see, I put some polar bears in just to see how they behave. It was only to get a grasp of what is going on with those bears, and obviously, yes, this was too small. And here you can see now what I'm doing. And this second part of this episode is very important now. It is very, very important, mainly because it shows off how I want to tackle the habitat of the polar bear. So I was planning on getting a habitat done where the polar bear can roam around free, and to see how big actually the size they require is. And let me tell you, the old one before Frontier basically said that they are changing it to another size is just ridiculous. So the habitat I built over here now, which in the first second you will see is just not normal. It's just insane. It's basically I think 7-8-ish times bigger as any elephant habitat. And as soon as they got a baby, it was just sufficient. And you cannot even see the bears, like you cannot even see. And then I finally figured, okay, I need something that keeps them away from swimming into areas that they do not belong. And I felt like, okay, the way of doing it would be creating some kind of ice shores that are not climbable for them, like making them a bit thicker, as if the ice is a bit thicker. I can see it works. So I was just like laying them down on the line of the habitat, just to see if that works. We will definitely reposition all this stuff later on, but I just wanted to see first of all how it looks and also how it works. And I figured in the end it'll definitely look good if I work this all in. We have enough snow going on, and I will make a huge freaking ice plate, like an ice shore, like a bigger one that just opens up here and there for some water to make this really look like as if the half of the sea, or half of the lake I should say, is basically covered under some ice and snow, which yeah, was my intention from the get-go. And I'm just going to open up some bays where the ice bears can go into and swim, so to give them the water requirement, but yet also let them, I will also let them climb at some of the ice shores to make sure that this looks somewhat realistic. But then with some clever placement of rocks, I do hope that we will be able to create some kind of realism aspect, that they can roam around on the ice shore, but only as far as we allow them to, by placing some of the cleverly put down rocks and stuff. So it's the first time ever that I'm very happy about this insane hitbox of the freaking rock pieces. Yeah, it's just, they are just nuts. Never mind. So you've seen that we built the first big station on the left hand side, but then I also decided to go yeah, for a more radical and simple design for this one over here. This is basically only like a little bit of a side station where you still have some research going on, obviously, but it's not like the main building. And also the main building has another purpose. It is a little raised, and I just didn't know why you would have the building raised, but because when I was researching all the polar stations, I saw that many of them are kind of raised as if you would prevent them from flooding, which usually isn't a thing, but what is a thing is definitely ice storms and very windy snowstorms. And it's better to be a little bit up and not on the very ground, because that's where the wind speeds and stuff are the most insane. So this is why you would put the most important buildings, or like the buildings where you can get some cover, you would always put them a little bit raised, so you have a little bit of shelter and can be a bit more secure from the ice and snowstorms that would go through there in the Arctic. And this is why I in particular built this building a bit more strong. So the build itself, the building itself would be left maybe if there is a storm approaching. People would maybe go into the main building to get some cover, but this build itself, to be not destroyed too much, I decided to go in with a bit more bulky design that is potentially a bit more strong, and yeah, it kind of helps out on keeping it all safe and neat and tidy, and you know, so you can get back the next day when the storm is over or whatever. So at least that's it for my idea I had here. It's always very important to figure out what you really want, and I wanted to make this polar station as realistic as possible, and just kind of have the animals as a side effect, if you will, so that, you know, they are not the main focus. The station itself is the focus, and the animals would potentially be roaming around. I still don't know exactly how we will treat the Arctic wolf, which will be hopefully in the next episode. I have to get an idea of how to do it, but we will see. So for that's it for the moment with the time lapse. You get some screenshots now from the finished station, including some night shots, which is just freaking amazing. I really hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and let me know in the comments down below as the question of the day. What do you think about research stations in general, and have you been to one? And yeah, just let me know about that, and we're gonna see each other in the next episode. Have a good day, and see you then. Bye bye. Alrighty guys, thank you for watching this video. I really do appreciate that. As always, make sure to check out also my social media channels. You can find me everywhere under @RudyRandCamel. Also, big thanks to the crew. You can see it on the left hand side right now. And as always, if you want to see more, you click that card on the top right. And if you want to stick around because you like the stuff you've just saw, whatever, you know what I mean, just click that sub button, which is to the bottom right of the screen right now. But everything else I can say is have a great time, and see you next time. Bye guys.